Welcome to the Roy Morgan Weekly Update, featuring the latest federal voting intention, a jump in consumer confidence following the Reserve Bank's decision to leave interest rates unchanged, a sharp decline in inflation expectations, the latest real unemployment figures, and a look at the political situation in Indonesia facing a presidential election early in 2024. Two-party preferred support is unchanged in mid-December, with the Albanese government on 51%, narrowly ahead of the Liberal National Coalition on 49%. Roy Morgan government confidence was virtually unchanged at 77.5. Most Australians, that's 53.5%, still say the country's heading in the wrong direction. Only 31% say the country's heading in the right direction. In good news, the Reserve Bank's decision to leave interest rates unchanged last week has provided a significant boost to consumer confidence. And the ANZ Roy Morgan consumer confidence jumped by 4.4 points to 80.8. That's the highest it's been for over 10 months since early February 2023. And importantly, it's now out of that sub-80 recessionary level. There's also good news as inflation expectations came down 0.6% to 5%. This was the biggest weekly decline for over a year, taking inflation expectations to the lowest since mid-September, nearly 3 months ago, and now in line with the official level of inflation. There was also positive news for the labour force, with 14 million Australians employed in November, a record. And real unemployment decreased, down 0.2% to 9.7%. Underemployment also decreased, down 0.3% to 9.9% in November. The overall figures show total unemployment and underemployment, what we might call workforce underutilisation, was 19.6% of the workforce in November. That's over 3 million people. Now, as we've said for several months, the monthly movements are within a broader context of a surging population and a surging workforce. Australians' population aged 14 plus, that's largely the working age population, has increased by a record 817,000 compared to a year ago, to over 22.2 million. This surge in population has driven increases in both employment and unemployment. The Australian workforce. The sum of these increased by 597,000 to over 15.5 million. Now, 14 million and 10,000 Australians are employed. That's 430,000 more than a year ago. 140,000 more in full-time employment and 290,000 more in part-time employment. Unfortunately, there's also been a substantial increase in the number of unemployed, which is up 167,000 to over 1.5 million. This massive figure of 3 million Australians either unemployed or underemployed, the 19.6% of the workforce in November, is one of the most important problems facing the federal government heading into the new year. Turning now to our northern neighbours, Indonesia, who face a key election early next year to elect a new president. As many of you know, Roy Morgan continuously surveys Indonesians face-to-face in their homes around the entire country. The results of our latest research show that Jokowi's legacy is set to continue, with his party and his party's preferred candidate both holding significant leads. Ganjar Pranowo, the former governor of Central Java province and the candidate for the Party of the Democratic Struggle, commonly known as the PDIP and the largest party in the Indonesian legislature, has the support of 38% of voters. That's well ahead of the 2019 runner-up, Prabowo Subianto, on 30%, and Anies Baswedan on 25% support. Clearly, Jokowi's protege, Ganjar Pranowo, is in a pole position to become Indonesia's next president. However, the current results indicate no single candidate is likely to receive a majority of votes in the first round of voting in February. If this is the case, Indonesians will be forced to a runoff election 4 months later, in mid-June. For further details on our research in Indonesia's presidential and legislative elections next year, visit the Roy Morgan website. And that's a wrap for this week. Thanks for listening today, and I look forward to bringing you the latest data on consumer confidence, inflation expectations, and voting intentions next week. Subscribe free to our Roy Morgan YouTube channel for all the latest political, economic, and market research data and insights.